The Halloween franchise is the greatest and longest running horror franchise in the world, and that's a pretty big statement, but it's backed up by pure fact. And the proof is in the pudding. There's just something about the man in the white mask that audiences worldwide can't get enough of. So stay tuned and don't go away, because we've ranked every single Halloween film from worst to best. But before we get started, you might want to lock your doors and windows. First up, what is the worst Halloween film ever made? You're about to find out. Coming in at number 12 is 2002's Halloween Resurrection. Resurrection is easily at the bottom of the pile. With one opening sequence, the film undoes the good work of the previous film, Halloween H2O. Even having Halloween 2's Rick Rosenthal at the helm could save Resurrection, and it clearly can't compete with the other Halloween films on our list as we climb to number 1. Part of the problem with Resurrection is that the film relied heavily on some of the tried old tropes of the early 2000s. Take, for instance, the Kung Fu Busta Rhymes scene. Critics and fans of the franchise considered the scene an affront to the franchise. All in all, the film left a bad taste in people's mouths and failed to live up to the quality of all the previous films. And that's how and why 2002's Halloween Resurrection gets the prize for the worst Halloween film ever made. Coming in at number 11 is 1989's Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. According to critics, Halloween 5 was written and filmed in such a rush, and it shows. For many observers, the film came off as clumsy and not very well thought out. It's also really difficult to like the characters, and the film is completely devoid of Halloween's classic and signature suspense. The only positive thing about Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers was actor Danielle Harris, who gave an incredible performance as Laurie's daughter Jamie, and the laundry chute scene in particular was pretty awesome. Next up, how did Rob Zombie change the game? Let's take a look. Coming in at number 10 is 2009's Halloween 2. A prolific writer and director, Rob Zombie returned to the Halloween franchise after being promised total creative freedom, and let's just say he definitely chose to exercise those creative rights. The result was a classic grindhouse style effort, chock full of graphic gore, unfettered violence, great dialogue, and loads of surreal music video style sequences. So here's the good and the bad about Halloween 2. The film works perfectly well as a standalone film. It has an incredible cast, but, and this is a big but, it strays too far away from the spirit of the franchise. Many felt it was more of an exploitation horror film than a fun slasher picture like the original 1978 film. For now, though, we're moving up on our list, and coming in at number 9, it's 1995's Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. The theatrical cut of Curse was the result of rewrites, reshoots, and flat-out blatant studio interference, and unfortunately, even the 2014 producer's cut wasn't enough to save the film. In Curse, audiences receive a payoff for the Curse of the Thorn subplot that was seeded in Halloween 5, but it ends up feeling repetitious. To make matters worse, legacy final girl Jamie Lloyd is killed off after being recast, and viewers are left with no emotional impact whatsoever. Curse claws its way up the list for two main reasons. One, the epic electrocution scene, and two, actor Donald Pleasant's final performance as Dr. Loomis. Curse also stars a young Paul Rudd, who reprised the role of Tommy Doyle from the 1978 original film. Up next, can dialogue make or break a film? You bet. Coming in at number 8, it's 2021's Halloween Kills. Whether or not you've paid much attention to the dialogue when watching a film, there's no denying the fact that it is literally one of the most important aspects of any screenplay. In some cases, too much dialogue is bad, and in other cases, not having enough dialogue is also bad. Sometimes, actors may say things that seem just like out of sorts in place, or unbelievable, and this is an indication of poor or weak writing. In 2021's Halloween Kills, much of its dialogue is cringeworthy, and ultimately, it does hurt the film. Overall, Halloween Kills is a bit of a hot mess, but to be fair, there's some positive aspects as well. The film does bring some interesting contemporary elements into play, including the often unexplored impact of the Halloween murders on the citizens of Haddonfield. That's a really big bonus point for the film. It's also got some really great throwback moments to the Halloween mythos. Coming in at number 7 is 2018's Halloween. Director David Gordon Green's Halloween picks up 40 years after the events of the original 1978 film. It unravels years of convoluted storylines and, like Halloween Kills, gives us plenty of cool throwbacks. Although Green and his co-writer Danny McBride introduce interesting new characters and plot elements, critics argue that they never seem to make full use of them. It's a solid film, but it's not the best from the franchise. Stay tuned and don't go away, because we're climbing up our list of Halloween films ranked from worst to best. Next up, what happens when Michael Myers comes back home? Nothing good. Coming in at number 6 is 1988's Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Return sees Myers back on screens alongside his nemesis, Dr. Loomis. After their absence from Halloween 3, Return has a back-to-basics approach and wins bonus points for giving Donald Pleasance the creative freedom to go full crazy in his role as Dr. Loomis. Actor George P. Wilbur does a great job as Myers, and he even kills a man using only his thumb. Ouch. Overall, Return is okay, and in the spirit of giving credit when credit is due, it does have a really great ending. Coming in at number 5 is 2007's Halloween. Rob Zombie was back in to direct the film, and what he gave audiences was a 50% faithful remake and 50% stylized backstory. And you can't deny the incredible casting. Zombie cast veteran actors Ken Foree, Brad Dourif, Dee Wallace, and Danielle Harris. And Malcolm McDowell was great as Dr. Loomis. Zombie dispenses with the mystique of Michael Myers and instead chooses to take audiences down a dark, psychological journey into the mind of a man in the white mask. And this changes our relationship with Myers, and it's bold reimagining. However, the film loses points for an ending that drags on and seemingly lacks impact. Up next was Michael Myers connected to a dark cult. Let's find out. Coming in at number 4 is 1982's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. The film's plot does drag on, and horror legend Tom Atkins plays the most unlikable main character, but the kills are fun and inventive. And then, when the third act kicks into high gear, the crazy train goes completely off the rails. And for these reasons, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch is the 4th best Halloween film. Coming in at number 3 is 1998's Halloween H2O 20 years later. A direct sequel to 1981's Halloween 2, H2O brings back Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie, and it's loaded with cool throwbacks, and the cast is primed with late 90s teen talent, and it helps to secure H2O in the top 3 for being a true 90s slasher film while keeping the original spirit of the Halloween franchise alive. And the soundtrack by the 90s band Creed is pretty awesome too. Moving on, and coming in at number 2 is 1981's Halloween 2. The film is essentially a seamless continuation of the original. Director Rick Rosenthal infused the film with John Carpenter's trademark style, with creepy tracking shots and extra long, suspenseful takes. The only reason Halloween 2 doesn't take the top spot is that it failed to produce the impact of the original film, which struck moviegoers like a sledgehammer. Finally, what's the number 1 best Halloween film of all time? Easy answer, it's the original. Of all the Halloween films, the original 1978 film is the greatest of them all, and here's why. The film essentially started the entire slasher film genre, and it's an iconic 4-minute opening shot is a perfect example of why the kill is nothing without the build-up. When it comes to kills, Halloween isn't afraid to take its time. They want to milk the sense of dread down to every last drop, with long shots that allow us to stalk unsuspecting victims from the killer's perspective. Halloween's characters are also incredibly good. Laurie Strode is one of the most iconic and long-lasting horror film survivors in the genre's history. And then there's Michael. The idea of a cute kid brutally slaughtering his sister is horrific, but Halloween takes it up a notch by making him mute, and the fact that Michael doesn't speak makes him that much more frightening to our psyches. I can remember being a young kid in the 90s and borrowing a VHS copy of the original 1978 film from one of my older cousins. Knowing that my mother would never in a million years let me watch the movie, I waited until she was asleep. I went to my room, popped it into the VCR, and pressed play. I had never been so scared in my entire life. Even the music was chilling, gave me goosebumps. And at the time, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was also very popular, and I'd seen a number of the Freddy Krueger films, of course, always at my cousin's house whose parental supervision was slightly lax. But in terms of the scare factor, Fred Krueger had absolutely nothing on Michael Myers. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for watching.